Everyone, we'd like to welcome you to the rescheduled regular meeting, August 10th, 2023, of Nicholas County Board of Education. And at this time, if you'll stand for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Please join the board with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first item number 3, actually approve the minutes of the meetings held on June 9th, July 5th, July 17th, July 31st.
I have a couple of questions regarding July 5th.
Yes, sir.
Number 4. It says, we unanimously consented to approve July 29th minutes as presented. That was under the stipulation that the change that I made the motion for, that was unanimously accepted, would be included in those minutes.
Did you all not receive your email today and the updated minutes on Teams?
I just now saw that.
Yeah, I did, and it actually showed where Mr. Moose made the motion and Rick seconded it. And
There was he made the motion, but Mr. Karan said that,
Well, I made the first motion.
Yes.
Mr. Prine said that he did not allow for discussion.
right. And
And then there's
so
a
he requested,
Yeah, then there's a corrected place in there where then we all agreed to move that from participating.
Mr. Moose, did you look at it today?
Yeah, I looked at it this morning. I looked back at June 29th and July 5th this morning. Yeah, let me find it here now. But if it's been taken care of, then that's fine.
Yeah, she changed it late this afternoon when I brought it to her attention.
Corrected minutes.
Okay, that correction's been made, correct? On June 29th.
Thank you.
Oh, there's one little minor thing there down on volunteers
Which,
on
which date?
July the 5th. The Jantois brother and sister are on there, and the name is spelled differently, last name spelled differently. It's just a typo that should be corrected.
You're talking about Jean Schwab?
Yeah.
Jantois,
Okay, well.
I believe it's Tuah.
So that's a minor thing. Kim, you'll fix that, right?
yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then number 8, it says SQP, it doesn't, I can't understand it. It says SQP, doesn't, and then
What
there's
is
something
it?
there that's,
Where is it?
item number 8.
Under the
I'll just remove
trees.
that.
What, how should that read?
I'd have to go back and listen to it. But it can be fixed.
Where it says SQP doesn't, they,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's probably doesn't think,
Yeah.
think they should be working on the larger line of this
Okay.
disturbance.
Yeah, I think
the
that's
word-
what
It's
it
in the word
was.
think.
So that's easy to fix also. Anything else, anybody? Do we have a motion to accept the minutes for June 9th, July 5th, July 17th, July 31st?
I so move.
Mr. Moose makes the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? I'm sorry, Mr. First.
I couldn't hear.
I didn't speak very clearly. This wasn't your fault.
Okay, action items, number 4. Discussion with possible action on starting a softball team at Richwood Middle School with 2 paid coaches, and that's Mr. Collins.
Good evening. With me this evening, I have my athletic director, Mr. Floyd Friend, also my math teacher, one of my teachers at my school, Ms. Latricia Kincaid, and former Richwood High School softball coach, Bill Little. In fact, Mr. Little, if you want to go ahead and pass those out for the board members to take a look at. It's been several years, in fact, prior to my tenure, since we've expanded any of our athletic offerings at Richwood Middle. So, and I'm not sure, Mr. Friend probably,
Last I remember was football, and it was questioned about parents, and we got that started. No, football, wrestling.
wrestling, and that's probably been 20 years ago, I'm
Yeah, it's
guessing.
been a while.
So it's been a long time since we've been able to expand, for multiple reasons. Obviously, there's some facility limitations. Having to share fields with everybody creates a problem. As the only administrator, supervision becomes an issue. But over the past couple years, actually probably 5 years really, I've had a lot of requests from parents who would like to see us add softball. Most of the time, it's been poorly thought out, and they would come and request it, but I could see that it was not going to be doable with the personnel we had at the time. When Mr. Little approached me, well, actually back in the spring, he had not only the request, he had a plan in place. And he had put some thought into this and had a little bit of a vision ready to go. So I'm going to turn this over and let Mr. Little explain to you what he's thinking.
First of all, I want to thank you all for everything that you do. Okay? A lot of times I hear things good and bad, but right now it's good. What I've heard and read, everything is good. As for this, request for the middle school softball, over the past years, being a high school coach, I was seeing a decline in how these kids there was no determination. There was nothing like that. They wasn't getting any discipline. And they wasn't getting any structure. So I talked with my daughter and everything, and I just sat down and thought, what did we need? Well, I know that there's a head coach at the Richwood High School, softball coach. It was Doris Smith. And I knew that we needed something before she got the ball players for high school. We needed something for these kids. We needed a structure for this middle school. So I talked with her, and I I wanted to bring it to you to see if we can get this established, a middle school softball team for Richwood Middle School. We need it. The kids need it. They need the structure. During that middle school years, they need discipline. And if they're going to achieve anything that they're going to go at, they've got to have somewhere in that time of middle school that they got to understand that you've got discipline, you've got to come to school, and you've got to do what they tell you to do. And we're losing that because there's a gap there. Before they get to high school, they're not getting that. They need that discipline. If they're going to play ball, then they're going to have, if they're going to play softball, they're going to have to be there for practice. They don't come, they're not going to just say, well, I don't want to go to practice, I'm going to stay at the house. Then come the next day, come to practice. Well, it don't work that way. It don't work that way in high school. So we got to have some structure for them. And right now, I'm really excited that if the possibility, if we can have the middle school, I can help those kids out. I can help the parents out. I can help the school out. My daughter, if it comes to, with the two coaches, if we decide to apply for them, they will have structure. We will show them the way to play this game of softball. We will show them what they need to be, how the kids they need to be. And there's, in the program that I gave you, the first two pages, it's the page 2 and 3. Just so happened on page 3, on June the 7th, this came out from this lady with the National Federation of State High School Associations. Hit the nail on the head. Okay. Already was talking about it. I was already thinking about it. She brought it out right there, what was needed. It was needed in the middle school time. If they was going to play sports, it would help them out considerably. And I thought, well, that was great. Now, when you go to page 4, 5, and 6, you're going to see a sample with some changes in it of what the rules were to play high school ball from my daughter and myself when she was head coach at Ridgewood High School and when I was head coach at Ridgewood High School. Those kids had to follow this. And pretty much every one of them did.
Little League helps with the fundamentals, and then we think when they get to high school, you want to be able to hone in on the skills. And middle school, we feel like we can bring in fundamentals and start teaching them the discipline to lead into the high school, which is
Is that your way? Am I moving that in front of somebody? I can't see. I'm sorry.
But you have brochures. You can go through, when you get time, when you go through these rules and everything, we try to hit everything throughout what they might see. And
they understand that education is important to us as well. And I know with Little League, sometimes they can miss the practice and still be able to play that night. But with us, they need to be at school. They need to make sure their education is priority and they're learning that structure as well.
right. They've got to be able to do the things and take care of the things at school before they get to play.
So, I know you gave us on page 9, local neighboring active middle school softball teams.
Yes.
Are you all in conference?
We're not in conference now. We used to be in the Central West Indiana Athletic Conference.
And you're not in that conference?
No.
So you don't have to go to Spencer and, okay.
No. Now we can, but we don't have to.
Right.
And he had a list, they did a very good presentation for us the school, and he had listed some of the schools that I'd called, and he'd called, and they'd called him. They did a lot of work at a time that meeting to show us that they were really desiring to do this and do a good job with it.
Yeah, matter of fact, you got this list. I made one call. I made it to a call to the coach at the middle school at Midland Trail. In a matter of an hour, I had all these lists, and I had people already calling wanting to play. I hadn't even got it established yet. They just wanted to play. They know that Richwood area always has some decent softball teams. I mean, they was wanting to play. And as for backing up about you asking about the conference, at one point in time, if this does get approved, absolutely we want to play at conference. And even if we have to play in the conference, and even if we have to play Summersville Middle School, wouldn't that be great to have a Richwood team and the Summersville team playing for the championship? That would, and think about the support and get the people back together. That's the big thing. I mean, that's, to me, that would be great. That would be exactly what we need. And I'd love to do that. I'd love to have them playing each other for a championship. That'd be great.
Your practice on page 11. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Is this going to be coordinated with other sports so that the transportation will be the same for other activities, so there won't be any additional transportation?
As far as, I haven't got that far, but what I understand is that the kids would, what they did in high school, when we had to make the big change and had to do our indoor training at Craigsville, all the athletes was on the first bus that leaving out of Richwood. They would stop off at St. Luke's Church, they'd let them off. And if they was going to the Pratt Field, then they would go on to the Pratt Field. But the bus would come back and pick them up. They would pick them up at 5:30 and at 6:30. So we, as coaches, could coordinate with the coaches and the principal and everybody else of how to get these kids to the different fields. And that's why I have on here that there was an approval in here that with the Craigsville, if you go a little bit, Craigsville Little League, as you can see on there, they also agreed that we could use the Craigsville Little League field just in case if Doris Smith with the high school had the Pratt field, we could go to Craigsville and practice up there for an hour and a half or whatever like that. And the bus would take them up to the ballpark road, let them off, let them come to practice. The bus would come back and pick them up and take them home or whatever. We was talking, you know, it could be done. It wouldn't be that hard to take care of.
The activity buses are in the Craigsville area already, so that really shouldn't,
Yeah.
it shouldn't. It might be something where the bus is at Beaver and needs to pick up at St. Luke's for a change. It might be where they're at St. Luke's and it needs to pick up out at the ballpark. But it's right there in the Craigsville area.
Yeah. And what, there are 3 fields in Richwood, right?
There's, well, the fields that we have approval through the Board of Education is the Pratt fields, the baseball and the softball field. That's the only ones that we've got approval through.
Okay.
Okay, and so there's an agreement in there, I put that in there too, to where you can see it, that it's good up in for 2034 or something like that, and then there's a possibility where you can get another 20 years after that, and it's only $1 a year.
Talking about the lease with Richwood?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Bill, first of all, full disclosure, Bill and I graduated together, and anything that Bill does will be done right. I have no, Bill's always done that. You all know him, everybody knows Bill. My question is this, when I was reading through that real quick, I noticed that one of the rules is if you play softball, you can't do track, which I understand, you can make a choice one way or the other. With the population, the number of athletes and stuff over there, because the track program, from what I read, has been building up over in Richwood. They have a pretty good high school track program too. Do you see many of your girl athletes being affected by that? That you're going to lose, the track's going to lose them and you're going to get them? Is there a lot of dual athletes
Well,
that's doing that?
over the years, we've not, no. I mean,
No,
that was the
right.
big, that was, we never had that.
I know when I was in school, I really didn't see that much. We knew we had a choice because we wanted to dedicate to that sport,
Yeah.
and I didn't.
I just remember like
see
Pam Nels was good track, Paul was big in the track,
Yeah.
and of course she was good softball, big
Yeah.
and Paul was big in
Yeah,
softball.
she
I
decided.
didn't know with the population base if you saw that, but you don't see that as an issue.
No, because,
Hurting the track program or being able to, them choosing track and not having enough for something.
you know, because when you get in that situation, if you got, the schedules might be,
Yeah.
you know, the same. They might have them on the same day. Well, what does that girl want to do? Is she going to run track or is she going to play ball? Now, if she's a track star, she's going to run. If she's first, starter, a shortstop, what am I supposed to do? You know.
No, I understand the
Yeah,
rule
you see-
from a coaching standpoint, because I'm coaching. I don't
Yeah.
have a problem with the rule. My question was more, is you think you're gonna have enough players
Yeah,
that you're not gonna affect them?
usually we do. I mean, majority of the time, we always had.
And my second question was, I noticed the lease was for 20, is that down at the pool, is that field there?
No.
Which city of Richwood?
Pratt
is it?
Prattville.
Pratt Field.
Oh, Pratt's owned by the
That's
city, I
close
thought it was
to
owned by the board.
Cherry River.
Okay. Is our board allowed to enter into 20-year leases that automatically renew for another 20 years? I don't have a problem with the lease, I just didn't know if that was, or do you have to go year and automatically renew, or, I didn't know. We would be encumbering future boards, but it's just a dollar.
Yeah.
I don't think we've renewed that over the years. I think Kim, do you remember that?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I think it's just a standing.
I think
I
it's
can-
just been
I can research it.
ongoing.
All
Yeah,
our
that's-
leases have a 30-day out clause.
The lease does have a 30-day out clause.
All of our leases that we do have a 30-day out clause.
Well, and Richwood High School's been using that field for years, so.
The, in 2013, when I went before the Kevin Hess, and Kevin got with the lawyers and everything, and they worked up an agreement, and it was approved in February of 2014. And it was for, I think, 20 years or something like that, 20 to 25 years, and then there's a possibility if it's needed, or if they're still being playing games down there, it can be, done again.
I don't think that's a problem.
Softball and track are the only overlaps, right? Is that the only overlap?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've never had a problem. I mean, over the years when Pat Whitlock, when I was coaching with Pat, and, they either decided to play softball or they decided to run track. There was no problems.
Have you put feelers out yet to see?
I'd actually made a post on my social media just to see, like an interest post, back in July. And I had over 20 girls 20 girls and parents of the upcoming school year that were interested in playing, and at least 5 future Richwood Middle School girls that were interested as well. And that was just within a day's time. We had some interest there.
Okay.
I don't think it had even gotten out to all the
No,
kids,
no.
so that was just
Right.
my social media.
Good.
There've been people that asked about it and said, we're interested, and so, I just think it would be a great thing for the middle school and for the feeder program for the Richwood High School.
Does anybody have a question for Mr. Little? Or Mr. Friend or Mr. Collins?
Would
I'll get your.
would this be a one-year trial thing? I mean,
Okay.
or,
Well, we're not looking at it as a trial.
No,
No.
yeah.
We're,
We trust
we're
these people
going
to
to
do
go
the
out.
job.
Because you'll be buying uniforms and everything anyways, you're
Yeah.
going to be
Let's
equipped.
go to that issue, absolutely.
okay.
If I may, one of the things that I requested with Mr. Little and Ms. Kincaid, and they've committed to do this regardless of, who is hired as coaches, whatever. But one of the things I did request was that they raise $5,000 for startup money to cover the uniforms, to cover all the expenses, equipment. We also have a commitment from Ridgewood High School to share some of their existing equipment. So at this point, the only cost to the board would be these coaching salaries.
How many, Bill, how many years ago was Latricia your star player?
2005 is when we won states.
She showed me a ring.
She
I didn't wear the ring today.
Showed me a ring.
won my
Okay.
two-star. I knew she
Yeah.
was.
I say Jill was better than my sister, but
You got the ring?
I do.
There on the last part of this brochure, the only thing that I'm going to ask you for on the finance request and everything is that each sport for Nicholas County is allocated so much money per year. And to get us to start off with, from you all, I'm just requesting you to tell me no or whatever like that, is to start out with the same amount of money is allocated for the Summersville Middle School softball team. To start up, get a start up. And put that in our
Put it in the athletic.
our fund at middle school. Get started. Then we're going,
We'll do our part.
We'll do our part. But that gets us started for the girls to have something to get started. Because you don't know what's going to happen. We can get hand-me-down uniforms and everything like that. But if you get a hand-me-down catcher's equipment, you're messing up. We'll need new catcher's equipment. This year, they're asking for brand new, different softballs that cost more and everything like that. Little things like that add up. And even if we could get, the coach's equipment, the balls, a couple bats or whatever like it, I can get it started with the other equipment that Doris has with the high school. And we can work it out until we make our $5,000. I mean, I've already got, just in case if it's approved, we got us a possible co-ed tournament that we can get some money. Right. And, but we'll work to get the money that he's allocated for us that we need to have. Now, it might not be all at one time, but I've got a year, or we've got a year.
When would the season start?
The season will start, and practice will be the first week in March, last
Okay,
week in
spring
February.
sport, Spring sport like baseball.
Yeah.
Now, the middle school is only allowed to play 17 ball games. And that's not counting if you're playing conference and everything. But as you can see, with the list back there on page 8, there's not going to be a problem to get some games.
Most of the schools we play in football and basketball anyway,
Yeah.
and
I mean,
we have connections with them.
and a lot of these schools we play against in high school, I know almost everyone that deals with this.
Like you said, they've already contacted me too, they're interested in playing, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bill, I'd like to share this with you because I think you would agree to it. if you remember, my mother was the secretary at the high school when we first started there, and Mr. Bruce taught there and whatever. She said that several people would come up to her and said, "Lucille, you're just into athletics. You're just into athletics." And she said, "You show me a good athletic class, and I'll show you a good academic class."
Yes.
And there's a lot of truth to that. And she didn't say a lot, but there is. And I agree with you. You learn discipline, you learn a lot of things, and it'll be interesting. I read all your rules. If you get enough kids the parents to sign that and get in with you with today's generation.
That's probably the rules you had at the high school level, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they're good.
And they got to learn. They got to learn. If you're going to step on up, you're going to have to go through the same rules.
A lot of the kids do go through me though too with sixth grade, and they kind of know what I expect as well, and it kind of goes.
Yeah, no, I think it's good because I think it does lead to good academics, and at the end of the day, that's what we need to do.
I've always said that sports help you in the long run because it does teach you that teamwork and the discipline and how to fight through. So like if you come against an obstacle, how to fight through it, just like with sports.
It teaches
Yeah.
you how to lose too.
Yes, it
Not
does.
just win.
Yes,
Life's
it
not
does.
winning all the time, so it's got some good.
But you learn you learn when you lose, no matter what.
I would like
Yeah.
to see this for our girls.
Yeah, that's the discipline you receive there, it helps you in all your classes, all your studies. Winning and losing both. You have to learn how to lose just as well as to win.
But I would think the administration would probably concur with what I said. It probably makes an easier school to run.
Absolutely.
With that better athletic class where you got it, probably, Mom was secretary of high school for years, and she said, you could see them, the better athletic classes, they had more discipline, they ended up being less disciplined probably.
Absolutely.
And we can check the grades, you not come and take the C average, so that helps us with that.
Yeah, I saw that
She's
in
on
there, I was
staff.
wondering, I liked that they had to, now is the C average, so they don't have to pass every class, they just have to have the C average.
They want to do overall average, yes. That's it.
But when they further it in, but that's.
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
goal.
And I told them too that, because they have to learn to organize their time as well, and if we're like waiting for a practice or something too, I could help them with their work, kind of tutor with that as well.
That's a good pitch.
Yes, you put together a very good, so I'll say answer a lot of my questions right off the bat.
Should have brought a ring.
I think we better bring them up.
Was my niece on that team?
Yes. Yes, she was. She was our center fielder.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
She was young.
I gotta move these beautiful flowers, right? I don't mean to be. You can't see me, can
Somebody's just trying to be nice to you.
It was kind of
you?
blocking.
Who cares, right?
The flowers were blocking the glare off of his head though.
I thought he was looking for snacks.
Okay, action item B, approval of the temporary construction and right-of-way easement at Glade Creek property with West Virginia Department of Transportation, Division of Highways, parcel number 42.
Where is it actually, where are we talking about?
I read it earlier, let's see.
It's in Hamilton District, I don't know my district so well, are we talking about Ridgewood, are we talking about?
Oh, no, it's at
Clay
Glade
Creek, going to Clay Creek.
Yeah.
I thought that's what it was.
It's for the
For
turning lane.
that new
It's
entrance.
for the turning lane, I think, or.
The turning lane?
It's for the turning lane.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, action item C, approval of renewal MOU with New River Health Association, and that's for Summersville Middle School and Nicholas County High School. And that was in your packet. If there's any questions on that?
Are you all located in Fayetteville or Oak Hill? New River Health.
We're located in the three counties, Nicholas, Raleigh, And Fayette.
I mean, your office is in Fayette?
My office is in Oak Hill, the old Kmart that we renovated.
Looks very nice, too.
Thank you. It's quite a undertaking.
Okay, action item D, approval of renewal of the MOU with Nicholas County Community Action Head Start Program, and that's the homeless liaison. Any questions on that? Comments? Action item E, approval of renewal agreement with the West Virginia School of Medicine, Department of Communication Sciences and Disorders.
Now, is that one the same as the contract we have with WVU there for students?
No.
It's the same group though, isn't it? Same
It's for a
sciences.
speech language pathology student to do her, basically student teaching with us for
Right.
the semester is what that is.
Okay, approval of the renewal contract with Jennifer McMillian, LPN, that's F.
I've got one question on F, G, and H, all those contracts, and just a small question. Most contracts I see have a monetary value attached to the contract. There's really not a monetary value attached. I mean, how do they get paid through the, how do they get paid? I didn't see in the contract.
The question I have is their salary not stated because they're professional or full-time professional, or because all the contracts have per hour or per
Seems like most contracts have a monetary value to make them valid, and I just didn't see in any of the nursing, I understand what they were doing, but I didn't understand the payments, how that actually worked.
I don't know if it has to be public, but I'd try to be interested in that.
It's always in the, when they're paid, it's always in the board, or the financial packet.
Okay, so we do pay, that's what I didn't know, but in the contract itself, it doesn't say.
I know.
Like the speech language is at $76 an hour. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, and most contracts have a dollar value. I just didn't see in any of the nursing any dollar values.
These are renewals, so.
Okay.
I mean, they just work, it depends on what day, how much they work. So, I mean, one of the reasons, like, we don't pay them per day is if there's a snow day or if they only work part of the day, we just pay them per hour for those.
Do you know what the hourly rate is?
Yeah, it's on there, 76 for the speech pathologist.
Yeah, I
and
saw for the speech
22 for the LPNs.
How much for the LPNs?
22, it's on the second page for
And then
LPNs.
there's usually an hour limit as well, isn't there?
Up to, right, yes, typically. The nursing contracts, they're usually there, if the student is there 5 days a week, they're with the student because they have to be with those students for, due to
I just don't, and that's fine, I just don't see that in the contract.
I don't think it was in there, I looked at that too.
Is it?
It's not on page,
I have a copy, I mean, I printed it, Lydia's out today, so I'm.
but on all the nursing contractors, there was no dollar amount attached to them.
It's on page 2 of the one I have, but
I'm looking at page 2.
I don't think, I looked at that too, I don't see it.
Just my only comment, I have no problem
Okay.
with their stuff, but I did not see a monetary
I
value
don't know,
attached to this contract.
I think Lydia gave those to Kim. I
Okay.
printed them off her computer, so I can bring those, I have copies of.
Yeah, it's not in here.
Mine doesn't have a page 2 on any of them.
Oh, that's right, mine goes from 1
Yeah,
to
it's
3,
1
that's
and
probably
3.
the problem.
Well, maybe she's, when she's
Scanned
scanning it,
it,
it
probably
didn't.
comes.
Yeah, every one of them is 1 and
I always think y'all do that, just make sure we read this.
So here's a copy of all the ones that we had. So it's on, they're all
basically the same.
they're all the
They're
same
the same.
except, yeah, right there's the.
Yeah, there it is,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So that's,
$22 for the LPNs. The speech had it. It had theirs, the speech.
Okay, yes, it had it on there. I think-
Good eye. Mr.
Well-
Finance.
Well, I mean, I'm not used to contracts, but I couldn't find the meaning.
well,
If it wasn't there, I couldn't find it.
and I didn't catch it jump from 1 to 3.
I
I didn't either
That
until
was
she
just-
pointed it.
Things
Okay,
happen, no big deal.
all right, so that was approval of the renewal contract with Jennifer McMillian LPN, that was F. G is approval of the renewal contract with Amy Mentor LPN, that's G. H is approval of the renewal contract with Tracy Frazier LPN. I is approval of the renewal contract with Amy Williams, speech language pathologist. J is approval of contract with Pitney Bowes postage machine. Anything on that? Am I going too fast? K is approval of the renewal contract with Tracy Hanks, contract bus driver.
I was just curious, how many of those do we have? Like, you don't know about how
Two or
many?
three?
Two or three.
Two?
Now, I take it those are
Falls.
for rural areas that the buses
Right.
can't get to. Correct.
I don't think we ever got the one from our Trevor refilled whenever.
We used to have one out at Panther Mountain, I don't know if it still runs out.
Yeah, I think we have another contract, but she didn't get it into us in time, so it'll be on the August 21st.
Okay, L, approval of the renewal contract with Apogee, which is the website calling system. M, permission to pay bills prior to board meetings to avoid late fees. So I think that's a no-brainer myself.
We approved that
It's mostly utility bills that
for the prior superintendent, so it doesn't carry over, we have to do it again, right?
I don't know if we did it for bills, did we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Anyway, and then N is approval of donating the Richwood Walking Trail to the city of Richwood. We have to strike that, don't we?
We need to, till they have a meeting to approve it, or
The council has not approved that yet. So strike N.
I'll try to get him on that.
So do you want to table that? Is that how you want it worded?
Yeah, we'll table N. So is there anything that y'all want pulled out separately, or can we vote on all these at one time? Any discussion? All right, do I have a motion to approve action items A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, and M?
I'd like to make that motion.
Motion made by Mr. Ferguson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Green. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, consent items, finance. My Kristen has changed.
Kristen got ugly, yeah.
I didn't say that.
That's okay, I know. I have a mirror. So obviously I'm not finance. She said that we could absolutely call her. She was moving her son in to college today. So if you have any questions, and I can't answer them, a lot of it is Mr. Bayless's stuff. So then we can call her if you guys need to.
Anybody have anything on current invoices? Okay, let's go to supplements and transfers. Okay, nothing on current invoices or payment, supplements and transfers. All right, we'll go to contracts. public service education materials license agreement, and that's for the vocational center.
Yeah, that's just a supplemental online curriculum for our law and public safety program. It's going to be paid for through CTE money.
Lucky to have that, gentlemen. Okay, B, federal award contract between the SBA and the Nicholas County Board of Education. And that's the same contract they had, it's just an extension. Anybody have anything on that? Okay, number 4, bids. RT Rogers fuel bid.
So that, I've got that too. He wasn't feeling well, so he didn't come. That, again, that's gonna look a little bit more this time, because not only are we getting diesel fuel this time, that is also for gasoline, because we're getting gasoline buses. That is also a one-time for installation of the new tank. That was in that bid as well. It's gonna save, Mr. Stump said it will save us about $1,000 a month because of the gas that we already purchased and not paying the road taxes and the markups from gas stations.
Right.
Can you can run your other vehicles out of that tank?
Yeah, they'll run our maintenance vehicles out of those as well.
That'll save a bunch.
Yeah, because we're not paying the,
That'll pay for the tank
yeah.
pretty quickly.
Yeah, he said $1,000 a month.
RT was half the other bid, wasn't it? I believe, what I remember. I can't find it.
Yeah, I think so.
It was a lot lower.
And they've had our bid for several years now.
Where are they gonna locate that tank?
The tank's gonna go in the bus garage at Nicholas County High School, kind of behind the other tank, so that we can use the same fueling station. Because we have a key system, so that we can track how much fuel goes in each vehicle, and every person has a key, so that we can track how much fuel goes where. But it'll be an above ground fuel tank, just like the other one.
Okay, bid C, TSS photography bid, Ridgewood Middle School. D is the TSS photography bid, Summersville Middle School. E is Mr. Vend Incorporated, Summersville Middle School. And F is the big one, possible acceptance of the following bids for the Career and Technical Center. Multi-function welding machines, a virtual welding machine. How do you say the next one?
It's an entomology table.
Yeah, that, Mantomage table.
Isn't that the table that has isn't that the table that has
The body.
Yeah.
With all the,
Yeah,
how we're going to call that?
it's an interactive 3D anatomy table.
Let me ask you a question on that. I'm sure didn't New River Community Technical College, they used to have a nursing program, actually they rented off us in the north side, and they had a bunch of those tables and even some of the robotic bodies and stuff that they worked on and stuff. Do they still have that program? Are they still doing that? I wonder what happened to all that equipment and stuff.
I'm not 100% sure. Was that located in the Summersville campus?
Yeah, the Summersville campus is located in the North Side Center, next to where the unemployment was. And they ran a nursing program up there and then, I don't know, they have a lot of, I just was curious, but you're not aware where the local community college is running that program now?
No.
Are these for expansion or replacement, or both?
That's for expansion, yes.
But you already have one.
No, we do not have one. These are the same bids that we actually approved last year, but we never got a purchase them. So in a new fiscal year, we didn't know if the price would be the same, so we decided to rebid them out to get a more accurate price.
yeah. And it's coming out of our COVID money, right?
Yes.
Okay, anatomy in clay is the next one. hospital bed, and all-in-one computers.
The anatomy in clay, is that a pliable model?
Yes, there's skeleton mannequins, and there's different types of clay that goes in with them for the vascular system, muscular system. It's just a really reusable piece of equipment we use for our
They build them up, tear them down?
Yes.
Those all-in-ones are for graphic design. I think, was you wanting to strike that, because we can get those off a state contract, and your bidder may have backed out on you?
I'm not 100% sure what Crystal wanted to do. We had a bid come in at the last minute, and we had some follow-up questions about vendors, so we may want to table that one until the next board meeting.
The all-in-one computers, 24, bid 24.0.21? Or 24, yeah, 0.21.
So table that one.
Yeah.
Okay, out-of-state travel requests, Josie Groves to the CCLC conference in Louisville, Kentucky. And then Christina Chapman, Council of Administrators Special Education Conference in Pittsburgh. Any questions on those? If not, do we have a motion to accept consent items, finance 1, 2, 3, and 4 with all the bids? And then, of course, B, out-of-state travel request 1 and 2.
Which one did you say we wanted to table?
Oh, that's in.
Yeah.
Chip, let me ask you.
No, I mean, it was down here in the bids, what
Yeah.
Tom said something about.
Was it the hospital bed you wanted to table?
No,
No, all in one computers.
Oh, okay.
You want one computer?
So all the bids except the last one. Do we have a motion on those?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Berry makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Green. All in favor? Aye.
Yeah.
Opposed? All right. Personnel. Mr. Bean.
We have, there's 3 blanks on this agenda that we did not have names for prior to the agenda going out, and so we're going to fill those names in at this time. The first blank is Amanda Clark, and she'll be hired in the position of 3rd grade teacher at Glade Creek Elementary School, effective at the start of the 23-24 school year. Then directly underneath Amanda Clark will be Laura Jarrett, LauraJarrett, employed the position of ELA teacher at Nichols County High School, effective for the beginning of the school year. Then on the second page of your personnel list, we have a blank to employ in the position of assistant volleyball coach for Nichols County High School, effective upon completion of the inapplicable requirements, and that's Alexis Spell, ALEXISSPELL.
So we don't have anything on the account.
So we don't have an accountant.
We do not. We marked that one out. It was reposted a couple of days ago. We have 2 or 3 applicants already for that job.
And we do have an assistant superintendent.
Yes. Yes, that's the top one.
Okay, so do we have a need for an executive session?
We can do it now, or we can do it at the end of the meeting as far as the contract. But if you all want to have an executive session to talk about it, or I can talk about it, her hiring right now, any of the public, it doesn't matter. It's up to you.
Where's the contract on
The
here?
contract is not an agenda item, it's just like mine was. You said you go in executive session and you agree to.
I think we better look at our contract before we agree to hire him.
Okay.
So, don't you all? So we need a motion for executive session.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Ferguson, second by Mr. Berry for an executive session. To come out of executive session.
Make a motion.
Mr. Berry makes a motion to come out of executive session. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Moose. All in favor? Aye. At 7:50. Okay, do we have a motion to accept the personnel agenda as presented?
So moved.
Mr. Moose makes a motion. Do we have a
Second.
second?
Second.
Mr. Ferguson, seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. So that brings us to consent. Did we go over consent a while ago? Did you have any changes on that consent?
No.
Okay, so it was with personnel, never
Yeah, it
mind.
was-
Yeah, we already changed those things. I read
Okay,
off
I
Alexis
got you.
stayed on those.
My bad, all right. Number 7, superintendent's information, construction planning, architectural update.
Okay, I'm going to start with the superintendent's updates first, and then Chris is going to help me with some of these things. So this update is going to be a little different than what I've done in the past, and it's going to be becoming more and more detailed as we go while I'm in this position. A couple things I would like to do in the future. We're not going to change anything on the agenda, but we are going to maybe move some things around. I'm going to do my superintendent's report in the future much earlier in the agenda. We want to have an item on there that's the approval of the agenda, so that if we do have a situation where something needs to be changed at the last minute, you know, just like we did with these ladies, was hired late, we have a spot for that. And we're also going to move our delegations up. I understand the reasoning behind having the delegations late, but I just don't think it's the right thing to have people that come and want to speak, and they wait 2 hours to speak 5 minutes. It just, all it does, if anything, is aggravating worse. So my superintendent's report will be before the delegations. And the reason I do it that way is because the delegations by policy say that they have to give you a reason for their presence and the things they want to talk about. A lot of times I can head off a lot of their questions if I know what they're concerned about and go ahead and address them. And I would rather do it that way, because if you let the delegations go first and then you say, okay, we're going to do this, it's going to look like that you disagree with anything anybody says that's upset about something. So I want to try to address and explain to people that are delegations why we do things the way we do them. And that's where we did it, you know, where I was previously, and it seemed to really make things a lot clearer to people, and seemed to work really, really well. The next part of the agenda I want to do is something that's just a little bit different than what you've been doing. Is I'd like to read the biggest part of the personnel agenda. I know it's detailed, it takes a little while, but I think people need to hear that Tom McGurl is moving from one position to the other, because they don't read a lot of this stuff, but they will hear this stuff. So, and at the same time, I can explain that, you know, Tom McGurl left the position as special education teacher, become whatever the position is, and they will be posting that job, because people want to know, all right, when are you going to post that job, or are you going to post that job? It just seems to simplify things, and it's very transparent for people to understand. The last thing is something new I want you to do. We did this in Pocahontas County. It was so popular, is that we allowed each high school to send a student representative, who's the same person all year long. It was usually the class president, and they would come to the board meeting. And the first board, of course, we only had one high school, Pocahontas County High School, and so they came to every board meeting. But in our situation, I thought we would have one board meeting, Nicholas County High School senior president could come and share with them what's going on at their high school. You know, how the athletic teams are doing, what the clubs are doing, some projects they got going on. Just let them come out and brag about their school. And if they got a question about something that they'd like to see us do at their school, who better to hear from than the students? The next board meeting, they would have the Richwood High School senior class president come and do exactly the same thing, and let them alternate board meetings. And then from time to time, I could talk to Mr. Bayless and have someone from the vocational school come and talk to us about the discipline that they're studying, or what they're learning, or what they're doing. I think people love to hear from kids. And let's be honest, that's why we're all here, is for the kids, not for anybody else. And so I want more input from them. And so I would like to place on the agenda a little spot, and it'll be at the beginning of the agenda, so the student does not have to stay the entire period. Although a lot of our kids, we couldn't get them out of there. They had opinions on everything. So, but they would get a chance to speak. And it's good for them to get up in front of a group and share their thoughts about their school and ask questions, and maybe understand why we make decisions the way that we make them. So those are things that I want to do in future board meetings. The next thing is, and we'll get to the SBA stuff here in a second, but I want to talk about the ALC program. Okay, Meredith Hoover was the principal of the ALC. She resigned her position, as you saw on the board agenda. We had a teacher named Tammy Wolf Dobbins, who I don't think was on this agenda because we just got it. She resigned her position as one of our teachers. One of our other teachers that we had hired as a sub last year has had some major heart issues. I have another teacher who I've been trying to contact for over a month, and she's out west, and I'm not saying she don't have a right to be anywhere she wants to be, but I have not had a chance to sit down with the ALC team and explain to them my vision of what the ALC program needs to look like. When I came to this job, and I think I said this earlier in one of my other meetings, and I'll try not to be so long-winded, but I think it's important, is the first question I was asked when I took this job was, what are you going to do about the ALC? It wasn't about when you're going to get schools built. It's what are you going to do about the ALC? So I talked to the principals a little bit about it. I talked to my directors about it. And I don't think I had one person disagree with the fact that it needed to be redone. Basically, I'm going to tear it down from all the walls and rebuild it back up in the way I think it needs to look. There are certain components of the ALC I think that are detrimental to education. And it's just my opinion. I met with Meredith the very first day I was on this job. And I told her what I thought about it. And I could tell that she was not happy with my opinions. But I'd heard way too many stories about people being so upset the way things happened over there. For example, parent requests. Parents could request for their kids to go to the ALC instead of go to the school because they got upset with their English teacher. They asked them to do an essay or whatever. Or the counselor asked them a question about something that they came to school with a bruise on them. Say the counselor asks what's going on. The parent goes, finds out about it, says, send my kids to ALC. So I think we have to be very leery of parent requests. I could understand if a doctor would call us and say, this child's having a lot of anxiety, he really needs to be in a little smaller atmosphere, needs educated, but, that's fine. On a short-term basis, I don't have a real issue with that. I do have an issue when it turns into years. And so that's another component I think we have to look at. Another part of it is we have kids that are intentionally getting kicked out of school so they can go to the ALC program. One parent told me that their child came home and said that they got to see the whole first season of Yellowstone while they were in the ALC. And they wear their pajamas and they play on their phones and all these things that, I don't know how that's educating our kids. Another part of it is that if they were really good that week, they didn't have to go some days of the week. They got those days off. So, I just saw all of these different things, and I know I'm missing a couple components of it. I've been working on this for forever, but there's other parts of this that I have a real issue with. And so one of the things I'm going to recommend is, and these are not final decisions, these are recommendations I'm going to be making with our new director, and Mike Williams and some of the other people on our team, is that they be allowed to be placed in the ALC one time. Because we don't need frequent flyers, getting kicked out, getting in trouble, just saying back over there again. You get placed, you serve your time, you're sent back to your school, and you get in trouble again, then you go home. You don't go back to the ALC. You know, I was told, Meredith told me that there was a time she had 65 kids in the ALC. That's a lot of kids with issues. And the other part of this is the so-called tranquility room. I've heard a lot of things about the tranquility room. And I have not liked a lot of what I've heard about it. But one of the reasons I want to get this team together was them to better educate me on its purpose and how it worked. If its purpose is to get kids that are really anxious around other people, kind of isolated, and you got 15 of them in there, I'm not sure how that solves the problem. So that's another thing that I'm looking at and really concerned about. So there's just a lot of things, and the principals, when I talked to the secondary principals, I asked them, I didn't tell them my opinions first. I said, tell me about the ALC program, and it was like, oh Lord, we'll love to tell you about the ALC program. I mean, that's the attitude. Ask them, you don't have to listen to me. But there's obvious concerns in our community that there's not enough education going on and not enough discipline going on at the ALC, and that's going to change. Now, either I get good people to do this, or I can't see asking the school board to allocate around $300,000 a year to keep it running. So I think it has a lot of merit. I truly do. I wish I'd had it in Pocahontas County, where you have somewhere where you can send kids that expelled and you don't want to send them home all the time. But there is one other thing that I almost forgot, and that's this. I think there's two things, but I can marry on one of them right now, is the buses. A kid that's expelled from school because they've been acting up and misbehaving and cussing teachers and bringing drugs to school don't need to be on our school buses. If the parent wants the child to be allowed to go to the ALC, that's fine. Bring them to the ALC. When we have kids on homebound that have to go to libraries, the parents have to deliver them. We don't run a bus to their house and take them to the library. So we're going to require the parents to provide the transportation. Now, let's say you have a kid, we had some of these over home, that didn't really have any way of going anywhere except the school bus. And they're not a danger to anybody, that it's an academic issue or something. You know, I never like to say everything's always has to be this way. You always have to give yourself a little gray area for special situations, which I think we should do. The last thing, and it just popped back in my brain, was counseling. If a child's sent to the ALC for academic reasons, counseling is probably not necessary. But if you have kids sitting down there because they've been in fights, because they've been breaking drug school, vaping, whatever it is, then I'm going to require, as part of the contract, for them to be admitted into the ALC, to require them to have counseling. Now, school counseling, not their own, ours. And if they can't get along with the counselor, then we have other counselors in our school system that we can send to serve that child. Because surely they don't have something against all the counselors. But I do know that there are times when there's personality conflicts, or if a parent says, no, they refer us to CPS, so my kid's not sitting in with them, then we'll get a different counselor. If they refuse all counseling, then they refuse to be inducted into the program. So those are the kind of the high parts, and I know that's a lot. And when I shared that with Mrs. Hoover, she kind of just like, have a good day, I'll talk to you later, that kind of thing. I mean, she didn't know what to say. Because I didn't really find a lot that I liked about it. I don't like their pamphlet. The name of the pamphlet, name of what they call themselves is the Black Sheep Squadron. I don't think that's the kind of, they don't need to feel that way about themselves. They need to feel better about themselves instead of calling themselves something that's kind of, I think is kind of derogatory. But anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you guys. When we get our director in here and we sit down with Mike and our team, and make some final decisions. We'll present you the new plan and get you a new handout. The only other thing I'll say is that where I'm very concerned about having enough staff here to start on the 24th. So we may have to reach out to parents and say, we might not be able to start the ALC program until Labor Day or something until we get staffed. We can't send kids over there without supervision. So anyway, now moving on to the SBA, I was asked to contact FEMA or SBA to see where we were. Mike Hall asked me if I would reach out to SBA and ask them if they've heard from FEMA. Well, I did this yesterday. They have not. But Andy Neptune, who's the head of the SBA, said that if they didn't hear something in the next few days, they were going to schedule a meeting with FEMA themselves. So I'm hoping that we'll find out a little bit more about that. The last meeting we had with FEMA was very positive, but I know they got a lot of projects going on around the country, but ours is the most important, and we want them to address it. We visited, Chris and I visited Richwood today, and went up to make sure that the school was going to be ready for the teachers to come back next week. It is ready, it's safe. It's not aesthetically perfect because there's a lot of cinder blocks with no paint on them, but they can still start school and be able to shut and lock their doors and be safe. So we have checked on that. I checked with Sarah Kuiper today about asking the state for a waiver for a pre-K playground situation that we may not be able to resolve as much as we'd like. There is a lady who owns a property near the school that we're going to approach about allowing us to use part of her yard to do the playground in. We don't feel like that's probably going to be welcome to us. So we need to go ahead and start down the road of a waiver. If we get a waiver and then we get a place to put the playground, then we don't need the waiver. But we can't wait around to find out. We're going to move ahead with the waiver. Then on the way back from Cherry River, we stopped at, drove around by Panther Creek, and they are cleaning up the walking track and starting to make some improvements there. So now Chris, I've asked Chris if he would come and talk to you a little bit about, if he wants to elaborate a little bit on that, he can. But before I let you do that, I got one other issue I need to make sure I announce to everybody. I want to make sure everybody hears this. We had a question from a parent today from Richwood High School student who wanted to play soccer, but Richwood does not have a soccer team. So they asked the question if they could play soccer at Nicholas County High School. I'll be very, very blunt. I thought that they could. We called the SSAC. I checked with 2 or 3 other superintendents. They were wrong too. The only people who can are from private schools. So if you don't have a sport in your school, you cannot be a member of a sports team in a different part of your county. So that's for everybody. I know that was discussed some today. I talked to JV about that too, and so they should be aware of that. Now, Chris is going to talk to you, I don't know if you're talking to him more about the SBA, but he is going to talk to you about the property searches you all asked us to check into. That's right here.
So he covered construction very well. We've got another meeting Tuesday at Cherry River. I think had a meeting this Tuesday at Glade Creek, and that I don't know that everything will be 100% complete by August 31st by MNH, but they are moving along, hooking up the sewage to Mr. Rader's house, so that's good. So I'll move on to the property searches. So it wasn't an easy task because we don't pay taxes. And we didn't name our property the same thing. So I went to the courthouse, and actually I was going to lunch, and I had Adam with me, and I said, hey, why don't you stop by and help me see what's going on? So we ended up getting every book, flipping every district, flipping to the back, finding the non-taxable properties. And we had to go through every non-taxable property to find out what we think we have, which I'm not convinced we found all of them, but we found several of them. Some of them was under Nicholas County, like this property is registered under Nicholas County High School. Some of them is Nicholas County Board of Education. Some of them's the Nicholas County Schools. Some of them just Nicholas County Schools. So it was a rabbit. We went down a rabbit hole for sure. but I took a picture of all of them and I tried to put all of them on a map. Now, there is 3 or 4 parcels that are not on a map. So I have no idea where they're at. They don't have a parcel number or anything like that. It just has not on a map. So I'm not sure what to do that. Mr. Dennison told me to come back and he would try to help, because this tax map is not 100% accurate. You can't look at this for face value of where a property line goes. If I took you to Zela, it looks like we don't own half of the school. And he thinks that's just an anomaly with the tax map. So, but I thought if you guys wanted me to, I would show you the properties that you don't know that we own. So, because you know we own all the school properties. And if you want to look at those properties, I can show you those on the tax map too. But I was going to start.
How many are we looking at?
Not as many as what you think. I mean, I think there's 10 probably.
Oh, is that it?
Probably 10 that you don't know that we have. Yeah. There's one on Nile Road. That was surprising to me, the very beginning of Nile Road. As soon as you turn back, we have almost 2 acres right there. And I'll show you that one first. This is Hamilton District. I learned a lot about our districts and such of where we're at. Mr. Dennison was fantastic going, hey, listen, I know that, because I was completely ignorant of all this stuff. So I've learned a lot in the process. So, and whenever you guys get tired of looking at our properties, tell me and we can do it again another meeting or something. So as you can see, that's our property that we own on Nile Road. This is where you turn on the Nile Road. So we own that lot of land. I'm not sure what it's good for, or how we got that, or when we got that. Just trees. Just trees, that's why I kind of laughed. I wonder how many people's illegally hunted on school property. But there's probably a lot of road hunting.
So that's 2 acres?
So it says it's a lot, but what I've done was, if you go around and look at, it just says it's a lot, but if you look at comparable acreages beside it that has the size, then I think that is about 2 acres, because that's 1.5 acres. So this lot right here is 1.5 acres. And so I was just going to go at a comparable around 2 acres, give or take. Because ours don't have a size on it. It's probably not been surveyed. But the one beside it has been surveyed.
You reckon that's property that somebody's donated or willed to the county board?
So I don't have these deeds. And my suggestion from here, if you want to get rid of these, we need to hand these parcels over to a lawyer and have them to do the research and say, or do they have a reverter clause, or, you know, that's way above my pay grade to figure that stuff out.
Mr. Bain, do I have permissions?
Yes.
I didn't realize he was doing that. Several years back when Dr. Tetrick came, she was cleaning out, remember when she was moving file cabinets? And there is a file cabinet in my office that's a fireproof safe that Kevin put in my office because it has the deeds and the titles in it. I might have all that.
I didn't know anything about it either. But he didn't have all that, because, well, I know that just before he left, he went to Ernie and asked him for this same information, and Ernie said, I can't have it. So he has
He's forgotten
some of it, but I don't know.
I mean, I have an entire drawer
Yeah.
full of,
But,
he might not look in there more.
but at any rate, those might not have the reverter clause on them. All those would need to go to, you guys know that deal. So that's the Nile Road property. In Hamilton, you have Birch River, the Falta Shelter. You guys, I don't know if you want to look at the Falta Shelter. You've probably seen that. Or do you want to see that lot of land? Does anybody want to see the Falta Shelter property?
If you got on the map.
How much land, how much acreage was
Did
it?
Mr. Tucker get back to us on that yet?
On that part.
The Falta Shelter is 3.2 acres.
Do we still own that building?
Grade school.
Yes.
On,
The old metal grades. We'll pull it up. It'll just take a second right here. 478049. I've done something wrong. Oh, that's what it is. I'm doing something wrong. 47, oh, I put 77 somehow. So that's what the Falta shelter property looks like.
So like that piece of property, you could donate that to them. And, you know, we could have a revert clause that gives us first option on it. But if they would take it, they might be able to get more grants and stuff if they
Right.
own the property.
I would just caution and say that an optional reverter clause.
Right.
Because we don't want to get stuck with a building that we gotta pay
Exactly.
$100,000 to get tore down.
Exactly. If they let it run down, we don't want to stuck with it. We say, nah, we don't want it.
Right. So, I found I think it's an acre in the Kentucky district. We'll move over to the Kentucky district. That's near the State Road Garage in Holcomb. So we'll.
That's where?
Near Holcomb.
By the State Road Garage, by the Cherry River.
Home
Yeah.
place there.
That's a snake.
Up above that.
Mr. Moose, that's all you. There's lots of copperheads there.
I see him. I see him. Moving dirt or something on that occasion.
So you can see that's the Cherry River, and right up the road here is the State Road Garage.
Yeah.
So that's an acre of land.
Well, they don't mind if there was something there at one time.
Looks like a coal seam right there below.
So that's one of them. And of course, there is the old Camas Grade School. And it is 12. That's,
How many acres there, Chris?
says there is 5.33. Yeah. Then there's some property at Ward Road. Is this in anybody's way?
Not now.
It's hard to see. And I don't really know where that's at, to be frank with you. Christie, if she was here, she still could, but that's Ward Road is all I can tell you.
Is there no address or?
It just says Route 34. I mean, there's the gully, but like I said, I'm not even real sure where that's at on Ward Road.
I think that's about a mile.
One-room schools for.
I think that's about a mile out from Christie's house.
And it might be, like I said, she knew whose farm it was and all
Yeah.
that, so,
If we had a list of the old elementary schools.
there was 100 and some.
That's why I'm thinking for only
I'm sure that's
just
what it
10
was.
pieces.
Probably.
So there's one I found out Saxman Road, I think. And it was hard to find some of these because I just wasn't sure where they was at. This, I know that I have crossed this bridge on my four-wheeler. That is like a, but I think that's out Saxman somewhere. Like, I think that's Saxman Road. Because all this around it is all Westvaco, or what used to be Westvaco. It's-
That's the old mine pond area.
Yeah, I'm sure. I remember crossing that bridge on my four-wheeler. If you I know that sounds funny, but,
It's on that.
but that, that's, it says it's a lot, but I think it's about an acre. But,
Piece on Hinkle Mountain, did you find it?
yes.
I think they loaned that the other day.
Did they?
Probably. Last year, I think it was.
They might owe us some money.
Yeah, they're,
We
yeah.
go across the bridge and turn back up on
So-
that club?
Where this is, I figured out, is where Saxman Road and Grassy Creek intersect,
Yes.
is where that's at. Because if you go that way, it's Grassy Creek, and if you go that way, it's Saxman. So it's right where they intersect. Of course, Panther Creek, do you guys want to see what Panther Creek property looks like? It's 15 acres.
Piece up on Hinkle Mountain, out on the ridge, on the back. Another went to grade school out there.
There's a little red school out there.
And like I said, I'm not going to tell you I found all of our property because I don't know what all it's named. I just went through every district for their non-taxable.
Well, you know, when I put you on this search, they said we had 50 or 60 of them, you know?
Well, so we probably have 50 or 60 parcels. Like, there's probably 10 parcels making up Panther, or where Gully River is and the Career Center. So there could be 50 or 60 parcels, but not real full-blown.
Tracks.
Right. So that's what Panther Creek looks like. Now we have I found another circle there. So this one, it took me a little bit to figure out where it was, and I'm just going to pull it up and see if you guys can take a guess. It's in Jefferson District. It did make me laugh a little bit for some reason. That is like all the way at the end of 20 Mile. I mean, the very end. It's why they called it 20 Mile. I mean, like, it is way up there. I mean, it was
Probably a little one-room school out there at one time.
probably, because you can see, I mean, here's where, that's 20 Mile right there, the whole little community. It was way out there. But I had to follow this road all the way back to Dixie to figure out where it was at.
How big is that piece?
It just says it's a lot. That's not very big at all.
No, it tells you down at the bottom.
Sometimes it just says a lot.
No, it said acres.
A lot.
No, go back to that screen you were on.
I was clicked on different property. That's why.
Oh, okay.
And so if you click on different property around it,
Oh, okay.
then you can kind of get it's a comparison because you know, and so that's what I've done. But it looks like we own half of a house. But again, these are tax maps and they'll tell you they're not 100% accurate.
But, yeah.
Good luck with trying to get that one.
And you would think our tax maps would be accurate of all things.
Well, it's because you have bad surveys. I mean, and that's what, and I ran into that for my property in Hominy. And so when you have different conflicting surveys, they just put the surveys in here and then it makes it off. So, yeah, I found one in 20 Mile. I'll pull up, here, this one, you guys will recognize this one. Let's go back to Beaver District. You guys recognize that place? You might not. That's somewhere on Fenwick Mountain. I think it's down by Splinter.
Airport Road, Toad School. Maybe.
I think it was down by Camp Splinter.
Oh, Hinkle Mountain.
Yeah.
Hinkle Mountain.
Hinkle Mountain,
Okay.
yeah. So, because whenever you,
Locals probably know about all these, but I don't know if they'll tell us or not.
1980 probably.
You're using them for garden spots. or-
Yeah.
but, and if you want more specifics, then we can dig those up. But that one was just a lot, it says. But it was way down, I think up here was Hinkle Road, Hinkle Mountain Road.
Where's that on the road?
Oh, there's 19,000 acres, so it's national forest. Yeah.
Yeah. That's in Middle National Forest.
Yeah, it is. I mean, like, it's nuts.
That's what they don't do.
Which lot is it there?
That one. And if you want, I can give you that map number and stuff if you want to dig it up more, but, you know, that's National Forest. Bryant, Robert M. Bryant.
Yeah, there you go. That's who I told you.
So whoever.
That's out the far end of the farm.
That's all the way to the end.
Yeah, just a little piece of the woods. So, and so this is kind of crazy because it's got to have a right of way to it somehow.
There's road right there.
Is there?
His road goes right to it.
But there was probably a schoolhouse there. I don't know.
Pretty steep.
I didn't know we owned a bunch of this property at Fenwick. That one did surprise me too.
But there were several schools up in Glen, like the one-room schools.
But, yeah, they've
But I
been
don't-
everywhere.
Fenwick used to have a grade school.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yeah, but that was the bus garage that we give back to the National Forest.
There was another one
There
there
was a school
too.
where it Fenwick.
And the curve right past it, because that's where there's a bunch of parcels at. So we're at Beaver, yeah.
That's where Roy went to school.
Yeah.
I know exactly where he went.
I talked to years ago.
My grandmother was janitor there. So I swept rooms.
So there's a bunch, all these are the boards. This one, this one, this one. Of course, that's where 39 comes into, but the board has this one, this one. There was a school there? Was that where a school was?
Yeah, there was.
Long time ago.
Where's that at, Chris?
Really, in the 60s.
That is a long time ago.
This is Route 39, right? He crosses the bridge there.
It's Fenwick Bridge.
Oh, okay, okay.
But, yeah, there's, I think, 3.
Jim was about 12 and 7 trying to shoot.
Isn't there
That's
a
a
house
kind of-
that's there?
So there was,
Isn't there a house that's there?
Right.
I think
When
there
you first
is.
come across the bridge.
yeah, right there, that's not ours, but there was 3 parcels right here that was ours.
What's that?
There's been another little school there.
It must be the little parcel. Oh, I don't know what they're calling that.
You see the little right of way?
Oh, that's
that goes
it.
back in?
Yeah, that's just a right of way.
Yeah,
So but this parcel is ours, this one is ours, and that one is
at
ours.
least we have a right of way to it.
Well, Roy, that's where you cut up every deal to give that man. But I think National Forest has a mark.
Yeah.
And it may have reverted back to them, but we may not have it off our books.
What?
National Forest, 'cause it comes down that way.
Well, I know that we reverted back the old Fenwick bus
And
garage.
that's just down the road.
Yeah, we gave that back because the reverter clause said as soon as it wasn't a school, it had to go back.
Yeah, we had the bus garage there for years and
It shouldn't have been,
I know.
yeah. Because it was supposed to, as soon as it wasn't a school, it was supposed to go back.
And nobody questioned it?
Just nobody
Forest
ever,
Service was-
I mean, nobody ever looked at the deed when we closed the school. We just took it as our property. Yeah, yeah. This wasn't real quick either.
No, but it's interesting.
It was one of the better things I've had to do, I'll say that. It's way better than posting jobs, I promise you.
We won't have to do that much longer.
The original school was further back from the bus garage. Yeah, that's where you're showing the property on that intersection.
Like deeper into the woods or more the side of it?
47H, 00, is it keep me there? Yeah. So that, I don't know what we would really like to do with that really little piece of property, but I think that's Middletown Road. That little corner right there is the Board of Education.
Where's that at?
Middletown Road in Richwood. Is it
Four
Donaldson's?
Seasons,
This
yeah.
is Donaldson's, right?
Yep.
That looks like Donaldson's, and so it's just a little,
Oh, I know where that Charlie Phillips used to live.
Yeah.
so I don't even know if like we had a school there and then they decided to put a road through there and then they cut it off. That's just crazy that we have that little bit. But we have two tiny, tiny lots at Glade Creek too, that's not connected to the property that we bought. I don't understand it though. Golly River, now that school is just, all that is so chopped up over there. I'll show it to you, but it is chopped up.
Is somebody living in the, right back that building, right back from that little spot? Or is that a garage?
It's a little garage, one of the middle garages.
So this is Beaver. It's showing that it's ours, but it's really not. We don't really own that. We sold that, but it's still on the
We're
books.
leasing it.
But the,
We're leasing it, but it shouldn't show as ours on the books.
Mm-mm.
back for the building, not on that plan.
I see that.
So, oh no, that's the Career Center, sorry. That's the Career Center. That's not Beaver. That's the Career Center.
Still not on there.
I think we own that parcel behind it.
Yeah, we own that. And we own all kinds of them there. We own this one and not that one. But there's a whole bunch of them through here. I mean, we have, 10 or 15 parcels here that make up this whole. And then we own we own a right-of-way through the apartments right here that I found out. That is our right-of-way. Right between there. That little parcel is ours.
So all that's included in the 7.5 acres of the Career Center?
The Career Center is 6.29 acres, and then the rest of that, there's a.
Oh, that's not counting those little pieces.
No, just the Career Center, and then behind the Career Center is another 4.5 acres. This is another 4.5 acres. that is there. So, yeah, I didn't think we had anything over there. Nope. But, yeah, so when you hear about all those parcels or all the property that we own, I think they're talking about parcels, because some of these places are just way broken up. Oh, here's one that I could not drive to, but, and I don't know that, I think it was in Wyden. I think where I'm taking is to Wyden.
Yeah. I think we had one, well, Dill was in Clay, or Clay, wasn't it?
Like I said, I don't know, whoops,
Little wedge.
stop it. All right, I don't even know what I did, but I'm gonna start over. Maybe it'll work. I selected everything. There we go. But to take that into perspective, there's somebody's house, I don't know, there's a barn or something, but it's barely in the county. You can see it's right there, and right there's where you're leaving the county, and there's nothing there in our county. So that's pretty much our stray properties. Do you have any properties that you wish that I have found? And there was some that said NOMP, their parcel number was NOMP, so they wasn't on the map. I have no idea where they're at. So I will show you Zila there.
Whose responsibility is it, like, if we sell a piece of property, is it like the treasurer or the executive secretary? I mean, who notifies the courthouse? I mean, or just the lawyer whenever they're drawing up the stuff? Then that should bring it off. Then it should roll off of those maps.
Yeah.
Worst way it's supposed to, back in the day, that's the problem. I mean, there was a lot of incorrect surveys. If you've got some houses and stuff on some of that property, they may have squatters' rights by now. The law, maybe their property.
Well, they say that you can't do that for public property. That's what we've been told. Well, they had a house on the one in 20 Mile. So this one is Zila.
We'll send you down there, Chris. Take care.
I don't even know how to get there. So this one is Zila, which kind of, it was the very first one I looked up, and I'm like, oh man, what am I getting myself into? But it's broken up into a bunch of parcels. You can see that that's ours. That's ours. That's ours. And that's the entrance of the school. It doesn't happen to be ours. So I don't really know. Mr. Collins, I hope he never decides he wants his school back. But no, I talked to Ernie, and he said he'll try to get to the bottom of it. He thinks it's just a mapping error. But if you look on the other side of it, at least we own the other half of the school too.
That's the bear side.
That side.
That's Bear Mountain right there, yeah.
Well, Chris, thank you for spending a few minutes on that.
Because there's no way to go right off the
I got a copy of it. But, So it was, like I said, I'm not gonna guarantee that I have found all of our properties. That was all the properties, because me and Adam looked for like an hour and a half through all those books, and while I was there, here come Kristen, and I was like, hey. So Kristen helped us look through all these books too, because there's no electronic record. It's pulling out, just pulling out all the district books and going through the non-taxable property in the back. And I didn't realize how much non-taxable property there is. There's a lot.
So did Mr. Tucker get back with us yet about, has he said anything to anybody about the Little? Okay.
I have not heard anything.
Okay. All right, thank you. Moving along, reports. SESC, Mr. Ferguson.
Yeah, I know we're running late. Next time, put me up closer to the front of the agenda, like you put yourself.
I still can stay there.
I know. We had a meeting on July 19th on Wednesday. It was my first meeting. I learned quite a bit. I'll just go over a few of the highlights. One, they talked about proximity learning, virtual charter schools versus public virtual schools. There's going to be some marketing literature come out, and they explained a lot of that. But the big thing I got out of it is that this Ken Lester that put the seminar together said, Ken asked that the boards consider revisiting the enrollment deadline to better protect the money derived from the school aid formula to the local Board of Educations. You remember him talking about that, Terrence? What he was saying there was he wanted us to change and move that school enrollment deadline some way in order to protect that school aid formula and get that you get the money.
By October
31st, I thought it was. It's either October 1, sometime in
October
October.
1st, I think.
But anyway, I got that out of that. Then this Regis D'Angelo of the Learning Center, he made a presentation on fast forward learning. I found, he said it was both an interactive reading program for students that are behind and also a math academy for teachers over the summer or virtually throughout the year, and teachers can get college credits from Marshall for that. The Chief Administrator, Jason Butcher, well, the first thing I will say, I had Kristen Eckel look up for me. We do not pay a monthly fee to belong to this SESC, the co-op. You only pay for the services we use. So we don't pay a monthly fee, and it's around 5% on employment and staff, and the substitute calling system is what we're using them for. But there was a lot of information there. I want to make sure we're using everything that we should and stuff. They did have he was concerned about new policies enacted from the state legislature and the forming of policy manuals that can be used by the counties. The manuals can be used as a guideline, but each county can amend as they see fit. So they basically have come up through there as a prototype of manuals if we want to try to use that. They talked a little bit about the dental insurance program. Also, time was spent addressing on level 1 hearing examiners. The Board of Education will have to pay for that, but there is a list of 5 people who have gone through the training that can hear cases. The costs are billed back to each county Board of Education. Or the superintendent can hear the case, but needs to have the training. So you're aware of that. They did give updates and reports were given by the Superintendent's Association about what priority they were going to the legislature. They forwarded an email from the West Virginia Department of Education on boundary violations, and they gave talking about proper boundaries and sexual harassment and type of harassments. So it was some good stuff on there. Chris may have to help me, or somebody else may have to help me on this one. They gave, in our pricing point, Jonathan Payne at Advantage Technology. He sent pricing information on Halo units.
Yeah,
I don't know what Halo units are.
That's the vape detectors that we put in our bathroom.
Okay, so they did send some pricing information out on that, so that we can use that if it's to our benefit. Been getting a lot of emails, or I have, and I'm sure y'all do too. I don't know if it's called them on there or not, but
It's the National Rural Education Association. They email a lot of information. One that I saw was that there's going to be a seminar or conference, and I thought of Dr. Sarah Lee on this one because it's email information on using data in making policy, practice, and research. And I know a lot of times we go with a lot of things, but really going back to the data, I'm not a data person, but data is important in a lot of it. Then the last thing, and I'll go quickly, I'll hand out to you, it's the 2023 legislative updates from Bowles and Rice. And so if you probably looked at it, but there's a handout on if you want to see all the things that affected education. And Mr. President, that's my report, concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Green, Bright Horizons.
They're going very well. They just had their parking lot resealed, put a little break room outside, picnic tables. It's real nice. And they're still pushing to get more of our students coming out there. We had one last year, went for a little while, and stuff fell through, but we might have to plan on one this year. We're hoping. So, they're doing very well.
Ms. Kim, do we have any delegations?
No, sir.
Thank you. Items for future agendas, anyone?
So the first day we meet with school, starting school is
21st, at 8 o'clock?
Yeah, the 21st is the day that they go to the high school for everybody for a county meeting. Teachers start
Try
to
to be there at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
How long will that last?
Well, it's an all-day thing, but I'm going to, Mr. Prine's going to introduce me, I'm going to introduce Kelly, and we're going to just kind of go over a few general things, and then they'll have trainings all day long. Jim Harris will take the biggest part of the day, and then correct Sarah.
You have a speaker?
We
Jim Harris.
usually stay till they start breaking up into individual groups. It's about an hour.
What? How long is he going to speak?
We've given him from 9 to about 11:15, and then Jen Fletcher, who is his colleague that works with PBIS out of the center, is going to elaborate on what Jim has done, kind of contextualize that, and then we'll stop at noon for lunch.
About 4 hours.
And you don't have to be there, I mean.
Wow.
Okay. Any future item agendas? Any future items for future agendas? Future meeting dates, regular meeting Monday, August 21st, 2023. Regular meeting Tuesday, September 5th, 2023. And regular meeting Monday, September 18th, 2023. All at the central office here at 6 o'clock. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Mr. Green makes a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ferguson. All in favor? Aye.